Senator Nyamu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to make my contribution towards this bill. Mr. Speaker, on the face of it, I support...
Senator Nyamu, I have not changed my sex yet.
Oh. Sorry, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to support this bill on the onset and on the face of it because I support the concept. I support the concept of marginalized areas being given extra funds to channel development to them. I also support because it alleviates the burden of the already strained county budget. I also like the fact that it is project specific and it is also area specific. But Madam Speaker, I also have an issue with the formula, just like my other colleagues have said before. And Nairobi has been assumed to be a rich county. Just because we have rich estates like Karen, Muthaiga, we ignore the slum dwellers of Nairobi. Article 204 of the Constitution that creates this bill is very clear that it is this bill and these funds are supposed to benefit the marginalized areas. Madam Speaker, in Nairobi, we have a lot of marginalized area and that are also densely populated. Nairobi is the home of big slums like Kibera, Mathare, Korokocho, and the Kayabas. And I'm sure, Madam Speaker, you've never heard of a slum called Silanga, etc. The deplorable state that these citizens, Kenyan citizens, are living in have continued to be ignored by policy makers and also legislators in this and the other houses, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I happen to be privileged to have served at the board of Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company for 3 years before I became a senator. And in Nairobi Water, we had mapped Nairobi into 7 regions. We have the central region, which includes the CBD and its environs. We have the southern region. And Madam Speaker, we saw it wise and necessary to have another region, a separate region that is called that it included all the slums that was called I forget the name, but the slums and all those regions were under a region, regardless of the location and the geographical area. And Madam Speaker, how we dealt with the slums was not the same way we dealt with other regions, in terms of billing, in terms of water supply, because they are more populated and they are less privileged. So, Madam Speaker, I want this House and I want the policymakers, the CRAs, to deal with these regions and to recognize them as marginalized, because they are marginalized, Madam Speaker. We are talking about Korokocho, Soweto, the Viwandani, the Riruta, and all these other areas, Madam Speaker, that have been ignored. Just because they neighbor Karen or they neighbor Muthaiga and other rich estates does not mean they should be ignored. Madam Speaker, they are not children of a lesser God. And Madam Speaker, we have been crying as Nairobi for these slum dwellers, and we have been ignored over the years. And we are going to resort even to unorthodox means. Madam Speaker, as the women of Nairobi and the women of Lainisaba and Kiboro and Muji wa Huruma, we are going to undress in this town, Madam Speaker, so that we can get the attention of the policymakers and this House and the legislators, Madam Speaker, because Nairobi is not a rich county, Madam Speaker. We are not a rich county. Just because we are the seat of government and we happen to have rich estates here and there does not mean that we are rich, Madam Speaker. And enough of this talk. We are going to find solutions for ourselves. Just like Governor Wavinya said that Kambas have their own ways of solving things. Nairobi, we are going to find a way of solving this means and having our slum dwellers recognized by the highest office and this House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to also add my voice to